Welcome to BioWest with Aanchal. In this lecture, we are going to study about an important concept of chemistry that is called oxidation and reduction. Yes, now children, this concept is very important to build up your chemistry concept for the higher classes. So let us begin with, without wasting time, what is oxidation and what is reduction. Okay, so in one reaction, what all things are happening that you can classify those reactions as oxidation and reduction is what we are going to study in this session. Now, when I had to talk about oxidation, right, now oxidation O is from the word loss. Okay, loss of what? Loss of electrons. Okay, and reduction is therefore ulta of oxidation, that is gain of electrons. Fine. Now what else? Now oxidation, name is giving you an element called oxygen. So gain of oxygen and loss of hydrogen. When you talk about reduction, it is gain of hydrogen and loss of oxygen. Right. So if you remember this, loss is for oxidation, that is loss of electrons, and gain of electrons. And if you don't have to talk about electrons, we talk about oxygen and hydrogen. So gain of oxygen is oxidation, gain of hydrogen is reduction, loss of hydrogen is also oxidation, and loss of oxygen is reduction. Now let us see some examples. When copper reacts with oxygen, it forms copper 2 oxide or cupric oxide. Now in this case, copper is gaining oxygen and forming its oxide. So this reaction is an example of oxidation reaction. Right. Similarly, when I talk about copper oxide, when treated with hydrogen gas, it forms copper plus water. In this case, the oxide is losing out oxygen. So here it is loss of oxygen. So it leads to the formation of metal. Matlab, the oxide is getting reduced to metals. So this is called reduction. It is in terms of oxygen. Gain of oxygen is oxidation. Loss of oxygen is reduction. I hope it's clear. Let us move to the next example. Now I'll give you one example where you have hydrogen sulfide. When it reacts with chlorine, it forms hydrogen chloride plus sulfur. Right? It's not a balanced reaction. Let us balance it. Fine. This is a reaction. In this case, sulfur has hydrogen along with it, and it is losing that hydrogen. Correct? It is losing that hydrogen. So here what is happening? Loss of hydrogen. Right? Similarly, when you see chlorine, chlorine is gaining hydrogen. Chlorine is gaining hydrogen. So when there is loss of hydrogen, it is oxidation. And when there is gain of hydrogen, it is reduction. Right? So in this case, H2S is getting oxidized to sulfur and chlorine is getting reduced to HCl. Is that understood? What is oxidation and what is reduction? Right, we will do some other examples also. Let me rub the board first. Another example where we talk about the electrons. Now see, you have already learnt about a reaction where you have iron nails put into a copper sulfate solution gives you copper, and the solution turns from blue to green because of the formation of ferrous sulfate. Right. Now in this case, what is happening? Now when you talk about iron, see what is happening with iron, and then we will see what is happening with copper. Okay. Now what is happening with iron? The metal iron is forming a ferrous iron. Iron metal forms ferrous iron, right? A neutral metal is forming a cation. So how do you form a cation? If you remember, metals have 1, 2 and 3 electrons in their outermost orbit. So they have the tendency to lose that electron and become cation. Similarly, here you can see that iron will lose 2 electrons and will form Fe2 plus. When you talk about copper, it is already present in the form of iron because it is a salt, right? Copper sulfate. So you have -2 charge and +2 charge, you know this charge of sulfate and copper. So copper is present in the form of cupric iron, copper 2, right? Now here this iron is getting changed to a metal, correct? So what is happening? It's already positive charged. In order to become neutral, it acquires 2 electrons to form a metal, correct? So here what is happening? Loss of electron, and here what is happening? Gain of electron. Loss of electron, remember, loss of electron is oxidation and gain of electron is reduction. So in this case, iron is getting oxidized to ferrous sulfate and copper sulfate is getting reduced to copper metal. Is this understood? So let us do some examples, then I will tell you a trick how to see what is reduction and oxidation. Okay. So let me clear the board first. Before talking about the tricks and how to remember, you must have observed that last 2 examples that I gave, oxidation and reduction is happening at the same time. So the reaction in which oxidation and reduction happens together is called the redox reaction. Okay, is called the redox reaction. So redox is what? Reduction plus oxidation. Reduction plus oxidation. Okay. Now we have seen few examples based on loss of electron or gain of electron. Now if I write, like for example, in the previous example, Fe was losing 2 electrons to form Fe2 plus, correct? I can write this in this form or I can write even in this form. In both the forms you can see minus, matlab Fe is losing electrons, and if you write in the product side means Fe is forming Fe2 plus and 2 electrons, right? So here either you write this side or in the reactant side, in both the cases it is loss of electron. You have to consider the loss of electron of the reactant. Okay, in the reactant side you should consider it is loss or gain. So loss of electron, as the O suggests, is oxidation. Now I will tell you a very simple method that how can you remember, because during the exam time, no children, we don't have that much of time to think ki loss of electron is happening or gain of electron is happening or which side the electron is being lost or gained. So generally we tend to get confused and do simple mistakes in the exam time. Now let us see how we can do it in a simple way without finding out the loss or gain of electrons. Now here you can see that in the smaller classes or in the basic concepts of chemistry, we know that atoms are electrically neutral. So all the molecules are also neutral, right? You have seen Na plus and Cl minus. Finally they are forming NaCl, which does not have any charge, but the ions have charge. They are with the opposite charge, +1, -1, +2, -2. So they neutralize themselves and they have 0 charge on it, right? Similarly here metal iron will have 0. It's a metal and an atom will be 0 and it is changing to +2. the charge is getting increased. So if you have increase in the charge, it is oxidation. And if there is a decrease in the charge, decrease matlab reduce, so it is reduction. Now in higher classes we will understand what these charges are. We call it as oxidation number. That is not required in your smaller classes like 7, 8, 9. So let us understand its oxidation state or oxidation number, to be more precise. But how will you calculate? We will just see. Let me clear the board first. Let me take the previous example only. That is Fe plus CuSO4, that is your copper sulfate, gives you, it's a blue solution. When you leave it for some time, copper gets deposited on the iron nails and your copper sulfate changes to actually ferrous sulfate. This is a very good example of a single displacement reaction. The more active metal replaces the less active metal from its solution. Now you see it's a metal, so overall charge on it is 0, but here it forms a compound, a salt. So sulfate charge is -2, ferrous charge is +2, +2 -2 0. So overall charge on the molecule will be 0. Copper is a metal, so 0. Here you have again +2 and -2, correct. Now for iron, what is happening? From 0 to +2. So for iron it is 0 to +2, correct. And for copper it is +2 to 0. Now in the number line, basic number system, 0 is less and +2 is more, so the number is getting increased. If it is getting increased, it is oxidation, and if the number is getting reduced, it is reduction. Clear? Easy? Now in this way we can find. Now if suppose loss or gain of electron type question is given, so Fe minus 2E gives you Fe2 plus, here also 0 to +2, oxidation. Cu2 plus gains electron to form Cu, +2 to 0, +2 to 0, reduction. So in any way if the question is asked, you can easily answer it, right. Now let us see one more example. Let me clear the board first. One more example that we saw that time was chlorine. Chlorine, when is bubbled through H2S, chlorine is, and H2S gas is mixed, you have the formation of HCl, hydrochloric gas, and that is hydrogen chloride and sulfur. Now in this case we balance it. In this case what is happening? Chlorine 0 element, elemental molecule, this is also 0, but here sulfur is -2 and hydrogen, since there are 2 atoms, +2. Chlorine here is -1, right, but there are 2, so -2 and +2, right, because there are 2 atoms. You can write, even in fact if you don't consider the number of molecules, write -1 and +1, that is only for HCl I am writing, fine. So what is happening? For chlorine from 0 to -1, and for sulfur -2 to 0. So chlorine is 0 to -1. What is happening? The number is getting reduced, so it is reduction. And here sulfur is -2 to 0, -2 is negative, so -2 is getting increased to 0. So since the number is getting increased, it is oxidation. Simple, right? Now you can write in the form of loss or gain of electrons also, how the things are being done. Acquiring a negative charge is gain of electron, then here sulfur is losing the electrons, it is oxidation. Is that clear? Any doubt? Put it in the comment section. Let me clear the board. I will give you one more reaction. You have to just pause the video after you see the reaction. Take 1 minute time and tell me which one is getting oxidized and which one is getting reduced. I will give you the answer after that. Okay, so you just check yourself. Now the question is, zinc reacts with copper sulfate to form zinc sulfate plus copper, right? Pause the video and check. Yes, I hope you followed the instructions. Now zinc 0, here zinc is plus 2, copper here is plus 2 and here is 0. So now zinc is 0 to plus 2, number is getting increased, so it is oxidation. Plus 2 to 0, number is getting reduced, so it is reduction. Okay, now is this understood? How many of you are correct? Yeah, put yes, I am correct in the comment section. Now what happens? I will introduce one more concept of agents, oxidizing agents and reducing agents. Right. Now oxidizing agents matlab which is helping in the process of oxidation by itself getting reduced. So what is getting reduced here? Copper sulfate. So copper sulfate becomes the oxidizing agent. And what is the reducing agent? The one which helps in the reduction of the other. So which is getting oxidized? Zinc. So zinc is the reducing agent. Always remember, these agents are always in the reactant side. You have to understand that oxidizing agents should be reduced and the reducing agents should be oxidized. Understood? This is all about reduction and oxidation. Let us solve few examples. Copper oxide, when reacts with hydrogen, produces copper and water. Okay, now you have to tell me which one is oxidized, which one is reduced, what is the oxidizing agent and what is the reducing agent. Pause the video, write and then see whether you are right or wrong. Okay. Now what is happening? Just check. This is minus 2 plus 2, this is 0, this is 0, this is minus 2 and plus 2. Okay. Now what is happening? Copper is getting from plus 2 to 0 and hydrogen is basically getting 0 to plus 2. Okay. So what is the oxidizing agent here? Oxidizing agent. Now the one that is plus 2 to 0, number is getting reduced, right? So this is reduction and here the number is getting increased, so this is oxidation. So the one which is getting reduced is the oxidizing agent. So oxidizing agent is CuO. What is the reducing agent? Reducing agent, that is which is getting oxidized? Hydrogen. So what is the reducing agent? That is hydrogen. Understood? Now what is the oxidized product? Oxidized product. What is the oxidized product? Which is getting, that is water. And what is the reduced product? Reduced product is copper. Understood? Which is the oxidizing agent, reducing agent, what is the oxidized product, reduced product. Always remember that these agents have to be in the reactant side and the products, as the name product is being given, you get it in the product side. So here copper oxide is getting reduced to the metal copper and hydrogen is getting oxidized to water. Understood? Let us see one more example. Fe3O4 plus H2 gives you Fe plus H2O. Balance the reaction, children. Now here you can see Fe3O4, right? This is a balanced reaction. Fine. Now what is happening? This is minus 8, 2 minus 2, 4 atoms are there, minus 8. This should be plus 8. correct? Here hydrogen is 0, iron is 0, minus 2, and if you can take 4, it is minus 8, and 4 है तो plus 8. चलो, simple. Now here you can see that iron from plus to 0, it is getting reduced, and hydrogen is again getting oxidized. Number is getting increased, right? Oxidized. So what is an oxidizing agent? The one which is getting reduced. So Fe3O4 is the oxidizing agent because it is getting reduced. Reducing agent is hydrogen because it is getting oxidized. Oxidized product is water, and reduced product is metal iron. Is this easy to understand? One more question. That is your ferrous oxide plus carbon monoxide gives you iron, that is iron, metal, and carbon dioxide. You have to balance the reaction. 3 oxygen is there, so let it be 3. So 2. This is 4 and 3. This will not be 4. This will be 2. Okay, this is your balanced chemical equation. Now here, which one is getting oxidized? Now children, let us consider, you can consider either you take the 3 molecules or we will take 1 molecule, the answer will be same. Let us take only 1 molecules each. Oxygen minus 2, 3 atoms will give you minus 6, so here plus 6. Here minus 2, plus 2, 0. Here minus 4, plus 4, correct? Now we have to find out what is getting oxidized, what is getting reduced. Now iron here is getting to Fe2 plus, Fe, that is metal. So plus 6 says 0, it is getting reduced, correct? It is getting reduced. And here carbon from plus 2 to plus 4, so it is getting oxidized. Plus 2 to plus 4, it is getting oxidized. So oxidizing agent will be the one which is getting reduced, that is Fe2O3. Reducing agent is the one which is getting oxidized, carbon monoxide. Oxidized product is carbon dioxide, and reducing agent is carbon monoxide, oxidized product is carbon dioxide, and reduced product is iron metal. Is this clear? So I hope you have understood the concept. Let us write few examples of the oxidizing agents and the reducing agents. Yes, so these are all the list of oxidizing and reducing agents. Take a screenshot. Yes, and I hope you understood. So always see that in which side, always focus on the reactant side, whether the loss of electron is happening, gain of electron is happening, the one which is getting oxidized and the which one is getting reduced, the product will be on the product side, oxidizing agent and reducing agent will be on the reactant side. I hope you understood the chapter. In case of any query, put it in the comment section, children, and happy learning.